6
So
o'clock.
weird.
According to my little sheet.
Me too.
It is, isn't it?
That's off the
It's
back
like,
of my house.
God.
That's beautiful. What a view.
And then this is all open on this side.
Okay, we gotta wait for
Can't
the
beat
light.
that.
You know, it's awesome.
Ta-da!
I sit out there.
I would too. I could have a few cold ones out there every once in a while, if not every night.
I do that, except for council nights.
You ready for some snow tomorrow?
Yeah,
Lights
it
are
ain't gonna stick.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to call to order
Well, it wasn't
the meeting of Washington Historic Preservation Commission for Monday, April 19th, 2021. May I have the call to order? Oh, no, we stand up and do the
Our pledge.
Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's been so long.
It has. November.
I'm used to just being a cog, not being the one that has to lead the troops
Don't say
here.
the pledge every time you open an email?
That's good. I have to stand up. Right. Okay. We have roll call, please.
Carolyn Witt,
Present.
Steve Struberg, Brian Bogue,
Here.
Rick Hop,
Here.
Danielle Grotwheel, Jamie Holtmeyer, Andrew Clary,
Here.
Tyler King,
Here.
Joe Holtmeyer,
Here.
Greg Scornia,
Here.
Sal Maniaci,
Here.
Tom Nelson.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here. It's been a struggle. What is that? It's our third try at having that this year, but we got, and I understand our next one is next month because we've 4 times a year. Our next normal one would be next month, so.
right. So
so
then we'll
don't-
be back on track after that.
Right, we'll be back on track. Okay, if there's any additions or corrections to the minutes that went out? If not, I'll take a motion to approve, or not.
I'll motion.
We have a motion, and we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, new business. We have done a lot of reviews on email since our last meeting, which included an awning at John G's Tap Room, front porch replacement on East Second, a sign for the art, Jim Peters down on Elm Street, and a house addition on a really cool old house on Cedar Street. Can we approve these as a whole at one time? Okay, if I could have a
Just to
motion,
put them on record. they
could I
were-
have a motion to put these on record officially?
I'll make a
a
motion.
motion to officially put these on the record.
And I'll second.
And we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Those were exciting things happening around. That was good. Old business, potential grants.
I don't really have anything new there, just those emails keep going out to all of you for grants that are available. You know, we don't have anything, any project in the pipeline right now that we are looking to do at the time. So if there's something that comes up that we think would be available, then, you know,
Right.
just keep an eye on those
Possibilities.
Those possibilities, they send them out. You know, if we want to do another district, you know, that kind of thing, we always can, so.
Right.
I was going to throw out there too, Missouri Main Street came through, or came to into some money through the state that they're offering services as far as grants go. But they're also looking for ideas on how they can potentially spend the money. So, you know, if we wanted to come up with an idea, I know as an organization, we did the facade program through downtown Washington. But if we want to approach maybe Main Street, the state, to say, hey, you have a little money, maybe you should look into doing something like this, we can. I don't know if they're open to ideas, but I don't know if they'd jump on something like that. So if there's any interest there, I can always approach them and ask them that.
That would be great. So if anybody has any ideas, if anything comes across that you think looks like a winner, it's nice perhaps to get it from another source. Then the state has a tendency to be knee-deep in red tape. And if we could do it through Missouri Main Street, it might be a little more simplified. And I know Main Street and CLGs do work in conjunction a lot, so this is not something that's unexpected. We might be able to come up with something. But again, we have to have a good plan. We have to have something solid to say, this is what we want to do. But and since we will have a meeting next month, if any of you have any ideas, to float, please do. Education and conferences.
Same thing, we've been sending out, the general information. They haven't had any in-person trainings yet, still this year. I know downtown did their, Main Street, they did their national conference virtually last week.
Yep, last week. And we have our state conference, July 28th through the 30th, virtual again.
Virtual, so.
I don't think we're going to have any in-person trainings until potentially September.
So, and Jamie always forwards anything we get from the CLG training. They normally do something every May, so I'm assuming we'll get something for some virtual training on the camp, or what, I can't remember what they called it. Was it camp last year, or 2 years ago?
2 years ago, and it was very good.
Okay, so
It
hopefully
was
they'll
one
do
of the
something.
best ones, because some of the times they've not been as, Tyler and I both attended, it was a virtual webinar training, how to package and leverage the value of your program. And I'd like to share very briefly, one of the things they talked about was historic preservation as one of the foundations of a program, a Main Street program. And I thought it was interesting, they talked about don't quote statistics. And I love this, especially these days, that no one has ever marched on Washington because of a pie chart. Well, they marched for a lot of other reasons. But the idea is start with why the story behind your buildings. What the emotional tie is to the downtown, to your community. And I think that's something we all need to remember. If you're ever in a position where it comes up, that's your opportunity to jump in and say, this building is worth our effort because it has memories and tradition and all that sort of thing. That's the kind of thing that people respond to as far as saying, yes, downtown is worth paying attention to. And one of the things was they were talking about what we have is unique buildings, which Washington is very fortunate, we really do. And also how events are the thing that lure people downtown for them to say, this is why I love downtown, or this is why I want to live downtown. So I think it's important for us as Historic Preservation Commission to always remember that we're in a position to put forth our agenda as far as support and preservation of these monuments to our history. And so please take that opportunity when you have it. And the rest of the wasn't quite as informative, but that was the piece I got that I thought was of use to share. Does anyone else have any education or anything they'd like to jump in? Okay, curb appeal? Okay, if anybody has any suggestions, I know we've had some, in the past, you were talking about the house on East Main. Jamie will be happy to help us make the connection with the homeowner, because she's in a position to find out who owns it.
I can get most of
And so if you or Danielle could, just one or two, we haven't done this in like 3 years, maybe. And it would be
Keep an eye
nice.
on that Cedar Street renovation that's happening right now. I think once that's wrapped up,
That's
that would be
good.
a really great.
Yeah, that's really going to make a difference on the front of that building with the porch extended. And I was so happy to see that someone was putting the money into one of those historic homes, making it livable for the 21st century, but still respecting the history of the building. So anything else we come across like that would be good. Has anybody noticed the Old Post Clinic? I don't know whether that would really, because they painted the brick, they changed the windows, but it's still a cool building that dates from the 1930s and had the curved walls and it had the industrial windows, and the Post Clinic has quite a history for the city of Washington, and that somebody's putting that money into that building to live in. So that's another good one to look at.
Yeah, and if we want to think about doing something for the shoe factory as they get into their next phase, and
Yes.
recognizing that renovation, that could almost be its own award, but,
I was gonna say Schrader's too. I mean, that was a,
yeah.
In 1990, the Missourian ran a expose on the Tibby Historical District, and the Post Clinic was mentioned in there.
Was it? Well, it was certainly, I don't know how big that Tibby district is, but that is in that block, basically.
I think it's Cedar to Elm,
Yeah.
and I think, I'm not 100% positive on this, I think Uric Bush designed the building.
Really? Well, I know he was an architect. Wow. Well, that'd be neat. Well, it was empty for a long time, so I'm really happy to see it
Yeah.
being.
Who do you think, Greg? Who'd you say?
Uric Bush,
Ulrich? Ulrich Bush?
Ulrich.
Ulrich, yeah?
Yeah,
or Ulrich,
Yeah.
he lived
yeah,
in the house next to Jim Hartman where Schneiders live.
I think you're right.
That's great.
The Tibby district's here in blue.
There you go. Oh, it's quite a few blocks, yeah,
Well, it's just that portion of that street then,
right.
but,
But quite a few properties.
That's Cedar, right?
yes,
Yes,
Tibby Historic District, yep.
that's great. How do we end up with a few holes there? Geez. And really, I wonder if the shoe factory would go under, even though it's not a new building, it's really unrecognizable from, I mean, it's still historic. Could that be creating new history?
That's what I was thinking.
So, yeah, it could be,
That would, because what's
New
gone
use.
into it has given it a rebirth. Well, that's something to be considering if you're putting together award nominations. That might be good. And he's still working on that one-story wing on the west side. Has not been done. It's something we should probably wait till he's finished?
yeah, because he's got a phase 1 and phase 2, and he already started on phase 2, but it's not done yet.
Right,
So-
right. Well, if any of you, I hope you had the opportunity to go and visit that when they had their open house.
It's amazing.
It was a good night.
It was cool. I'm not ready to move, but it was neat. Okay, budget report.
We have not spent any money since the city cemetery donation, so.
Excellent. Information plaques, well,
Well,
that's,
back to the budget, it was like $30, I think, to renew the Missourian.
Oh,
oh,
for
that
our,
was,
for our prescription, subscription.
right, no, that's good. Information plaques, we're still on hold at the moment. The Calvin Theater. Last I heard, they were trying to talk Hoffman into buying it, which I thought was interesting, somebody. But
Good luck.
it's still on the agenda, it's still there at the moment. Now, as far as the city cemetery sign, if any of you have seen it, it's amazing. If you take, like you're going to Knights of Columbus and you make a right onto that Wildy Way, goes along the cemeteries, and it really looks nice. And they're going to dedicate it this Thursday at 5 o'clock. And if any of you can attend, hopefully they will take a picture. And I think it's very important. I know I plan on being there with a sign that says, "We gave money." Maybe not. But because when you think about it, we were instrumental in getting that ball rolling, using our budgeted money for historic preservation for, I thought, was a very wonderful choice of use of that money. And they're getting more contributions, and they're going to have a plaque similar to what's down with the Civil War information around Franklin County, where they'll have information about the city cemetery. It was not something that was easily put on a stone, so we'll have an information plaque next to the stone. And I was really wishing that we had some flowers planted, but now I'm really glad we don't, because they would have been dead. So if any of you can come on Thursday at 5 o'clock, we will have a picture. And if you'd send out an email on the people that aren't here, then they would know if they.
And for those who are here, that would be.
Exactly.
A reminder, yes. And I think Sandy was going to speak. I don't know, I don't foresee a lot of time spent because I think it's going to be pretty chilly. But it is really dramatic, whether you're coming from either side, but it really looks best when you're turning from the Knights of Columbus up into on that hill. You can't miss it, and it really looks good. The Monument Company did a wonderful job. And did we have enough money to pay for the whole thing?
For the sign itself, but we have not raised enough money for the educational placard of it, which is still part of it. So if, stories, because we did, every time the paper would run something, I think we got a little bit here and there from donations from that. So that would be something that if it's not paid for by next budget year, to see if this group wants to still contribute to that to get that done, because we did go, or either Darren or Mark, someone went to all the service organizations and already asked them. So I think the city and this group, this is the city's budget, we'll have to get that done before going out and asking for more donations.
Right.
And that was the cheaper side of it. We got I think Ziegler said, $1,000 for that. But I think at the time, the one they were looking at was bigger than what we needed, so maybe cheaper than that.
Right. Get a deal. But it's really nice to see that, because that's been unrecognized for 100 and whatever years. 1839 or 1830, I can't remember what's on the
I think 33, right?
33.
Or 93, I don't remember.
Well,
We'll
whatever.
find out Thursday.
A
It's
long
on the,
time. Yeah, it's on the sign,
thing.
established. It says Washington City Cemetery, and then established with the date. So that'll be great. Does anyone have any other business?
I'll just bring up that the construction has begun at Market in Front for that 4.5 story structure with the underground parking garage. The only reason it wasn't brought back here is we did approve that over a year ago, and then they never broke ground, and those building permits expire after 6 months. So when they reapplied, it didn't change at all, so I didn't bring it back. But if you're wondering, that's the same design and everything was submitted, and we've issued that, and they've already started digging out that the piers for that parking garage. So
Is that a public parking garage?
no, it'll be for the users right there.
They're gonna have 10 residential units in there.
12.
12.
Yep.
Thought it was 10. Okay.
So it was originally 12, unless he got some of them bigger, but which could be the case. So
I do, if you still wanted the Shoe Factory bricks for that award thing, I have about 5 or 6 or I think there's 5 of them out in my Jeep. I can put them in your car for you.
Okay, that would be great.
I didn't know if you were still doing that or not.
No, I think we're looking at giving those awards in November, was it, the November?
Yeah, I think we kind of decided as a design committee through downtown that we were going to work on doing those awards at that November meeting.
We haven't had any of our quarterly meetings in over a year, and we have to have a meeting if you're going to give awards, and so we've still got some time to plan for that, but I will take the bricks and you don't have to worry about them.
Awesome. Or I
I'll
can
put them
leave
in
them
my
in the
garage
office.
and be thrilled.
If you want them in the office so they're not in your way, I can put them back under the table.
That's okay. That's okay, because you got enough problems. I know about the city closet, yes. I got a call from a gentleman who lived across the street from the Sirens Hotel, and he had a grave issue with the trash container.
we've looked into it, and it's not against city code.
Right. Well, I have not heard anything from him since it's been completely fenced or closed in. So I'm hoping he's not terrifically unhappy. But the gentleman had worked with planning and zoning and building inspection type of thing. In his previous job, he chose to move to Washington. He relocated. And I did feel bad because it was right across the street from his front door. So, and I think he felt he was getting the runaround. But I think in the long run, it's all worked out. And I have not heard anything else recently, but I did just wanted to bring that up. He wanted to know how they got a review from us. Well, the trash thing wasn't even mentioned in the review when we were doing the external of the
You don't need a building permit for that.
Right.
He
So-
also went through engineering and the building departments, and nobody could find anything that they did wrong, so.
Right, right. Everybody's different, and wherever he came from, he was upset. But as I said, I've not heard anything else from him, so I'm hoping that he's more reconciled to that. What was the other thing? There was something else I was going to say. But anyway, so we survived that. He was distressed. And I can't remember, Tyler, was there anything?
I don't have anything else.
I got something.
Please.
So I usually don't like to bring this up as like a complaint because I don't want to do that. What I want to do is show my observation, and then maybe we can collectively find a solution or something. So painting of our brick buildings has always been a touchy subject for us. It's just, it's unsettling that we have two white buildings now sticking out and for sale. Well, I think one's sold, but now they're for sale. But we were sold on the idea of all these things, and then now the business owner is gone. And I don't know if it brings up the pot shop, the two buildings that were supposed to be whitewashed. They weren't just
They were
white.
smeared.
Yeah, schmear. And so I think it's again, I think they're beautiful, and it's part of a trend, certainly a trend right now. And I know people comment on it that it does look nice, but I think part of my concern is that if we just let people if we just let people paint over brick and brick, we're going to get so many different color buildings, old buildings, that it's not going to look historic anymore. It's going to look like a multicolored building in downtown Washington. So I'm struggling to how we move forward as a committee whenever we are presented with any owner of the building, if they want to paint it. I don't think we ever really settled on that, other than they have to get our permission, but it's not mandatory compliance.
Right,
So I'm not quite
right.
sure.
Yeah, they just have to be
What's the
reviewed, correct?
Yeah, and there's no way we can forbid it. And in the case of the pot shop,
They didn't-
we heard nothing. It just appeared
They
one
just
weekend.
did it.
I know that, yeah, and that's why we
And
started.
it was really,
Yeah.
and then there was the issue with their awning, which I don't know, it was blinding in Cowan's, going in those windows.
Yeah. Well, the renovation of the old inn, remember, was just that. And that was the intent from the get-go, that it wasn't brick, it was just siding, and she said, we're gonna put it up and paint it. So that's a little different, but I'm with you on paint brick, like I don't, one of our neighbors entertained it, and I was like, yeah, let me tell you all the reasons why it's a terrible, terrible idea. Because it's so hard to come back from. It's cost
Absolutely,
prohibitive.
right.
How do we get to the point, and Sal, you might be able to answer this, how do we get to the point of mandatory review, mandatory compliance? Is that something that needs to go forth in
Well,
front of
right
city
now, the only
council?
thing we've got is if it's in the TIF.
Yes.
Is that
If it's
correct?
using public money, it's mandatory. You'd have to get council to want to approve a code amendment that required architectural guidelines, and it could be as simple as just painting and not even giving a scale of colors, but saying it has to be approved by this organization, and if you go through without it, then you're technically in violation of the zoning code, just like anyone else. They have not, in the past, we have not brought it up in a long time, in the past have not wanted to impose those restrictions on property owners, but we have not, even in 2017, we really didn't ask for it. The only thing we asked for mandatory was the signage, and that went through no problem. But
I remember,
that would be the way to do it, is to make it enforceable as a zoning rule, because it is, your historic preservation section is under chapter 400, which is in the zoning code, zoning book.
after the pot shop, I had conversations with people like, why did that happen, or how could this happen? And that was it. It's like, hey, we can't make you stop.
Yeah, and I certainly don't want to step on innovation or any kind of, when people put a lot of money, time, and effort into a vision, I want to appreciate that. And I mean, obviously, it's done well, but I'm, it's just disappointing that now we have an empty building that's white, even though we were told it was going to be used for so many other things. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know what to do about it, and I don't know if it's a problem, but I'm just echoing some sentiment that, well, we're turning the old red brick buildings into whatever color we want, and I don't really know if we can do anything about it.
Well, that's why I bring up the point, is it worth our while looking into a mandatory review, mandatory compliance, bringing that to council and seeing
Council
where it
people.
goes?
What do you think?
I mean, is it worth our time, you know?
We have some experts on the matter.
Yes.
Obviously. You know, I'm asking the group, not just the councilman, but I'm asking the group as a whole, is that worth our time, worth our while? I
Well,
mean,
it sounds like something we might want to pursue as a single, you know, not try and do I mean, I was here when I wasn't in this position. I may have been on the council, I don't remember, but when, you know, don't do the whole ball of wax, just do like the sign ordinance. And we have things to point to say, we don't want any more of this in our immediate historic downtown area.
Yeah, it just takes a change in the code, and amendment, and all that. And
Yeah, I would suggest maybe the same thing. I mean, we've talked about this before, going back a few years ago, and I think the committee at that time was not ready to pursue that, but we talked about it as an all-encompassing, basically everything we had to review would be mandatory. So maybe if there's a way to select specifically paint color and make that, like we did our sign and awning, make that a mandatory portion, it would be a little easier to swallow, and it is a pretty major thing, you know. Maybe just pursuing that aspect of it.
Well, I know with the Jasper building over here, the brick had deteriorated to the
Right.
point where it was,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
and there again, it's a white
I mean,
elephant.
it's a case-by-case thing, honestly.
Exactly, it would have to be case by
For
case,
sure.
but then that at least we would have the power to say, convince us, or let us convince you that this is not a wise move, and there are options, there are other ways you can, you know, and look around and see what we have and how we don't want to lose it. So could we put together perhaps something could that come through Sal?
Yeah, I mean, that could be a pretty easy code
be
amendment,
able
because
to-
I mean, I would recommend making it almost vague, because you don't want to
Exactly.
strong arm yourself into a set of colors or a palette
No,
and then
I
realize.
think it would be
I
very
think you just make
vague.
it a case by case.
Yeah, if you're gonna paint in that black, in any of those districts or in the black boundary, then you have, that would be it, that has to be approved by this board.
And I would think the council, I would hope, would be similar to the sign ordinance, where when it's explained that, you know, this isn't, and again, it's a case-by-case situation. We're not coming down, I mean, I have talked to people, I think it was from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and you couldn't paint your shutters, you couldn't paint your mailbox. I mean, it was strict. If you were in a historic district, there were limitations. This is the rule, and this is what only this you can do. It would not be that. We would not be that hard case.
I
But
wouldn't
it
want
would-
that either.
Yeah, I don't
I
think-
really
but-
wouldn't want that either.
But this would give us the
Yeah.
opportunity to talk to the person. And I think it needs to be broadcast enough that you're not going to have a shop do a weekend project and paint something and realize that they can't do that.
Well, and then just so you know, that will, in that circumstance, if that happens, that comes down to zoning violation, which gets you into circuit court, which is no longer municipal, so we no longer have that. That will be, that you would have to have the county prosecutor want to prosecute that for us to be able to make them change it. But just throwing that out there, that would be the path to having anything done about
Hopefully
it.
it wouldn't get to that.
Right.
Do I need a motion on that to,
No, I think it's just
Do I
direction to
need
get
Al to
to get,
look into
and
this?
it's good that we're meeting next month already, so.
yeah, this is great. Well, you have a friend on planning and zoning. So, if it comes to us,
I kind of think there's a lot of violations on the sign ordinance now. Put up these banners for a weekend gun show, that's just an example. Or a Lions Club barbecue, well, the Lions Club have kind of fallen in the line. But they used to have that banner across Jefferson Street, but I don't think they do it anymore.
no, I haven't
Because
seen,
we made the sign ordinance so restrictive.
Okay. Is there any other, that was really good. I'm really glad you brought it up because if you don't talk about it, you
Yeah.
can't fix it.
I mean, it's an observation, and I wish I had a solution to present with it, because I don't just want to, you know.
I think you do. You
Well-
did. You did.
And you have
Well,
a point too, you don't want to stronghold somebody, you want to,
No.
you want to have innovation as much as possible, but
Yeah,
correct innovation, something that.
yeah.
And it is a question, what do you do whenever someone you issue a certificate of review based on what they say, and then they don't do it? Do you revoke the certificate? I mean, it's already done, but I guess
Right.
that still sends a message. You could vote to revoke it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only, I don't know what else, because they didn't request any TIF money, we can't withhold anything.
Right.
But you're right, I mean, they came here with pictures of what it was gonna look like and then decided not to do the last step.
Now, I understand the last year has been crazy for everyone, so that comes with understanding, but, it could have been the next building or the next building, so.
Well, and what's the point if someone's just gonna come and say whatever they want and then not do it, so.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if there is no other business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Our next meeting will be next month, so please please come. I say, that's a good way to say this. Just
Thank you,
please
Carolyn.
come.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Boys have fun tonight.
Oh, yeah. Get sworn in.